Hey there, School of Tomorrow students. This is November 6th. This is that Friday after the U.S. election when they still haven't officially called it for either candidate. It was not a surprise that it would take a long time to count these things. I was kind of surprised that states could switch over to mail-in so easily. I had expressed a lot of skepticism because I don't think engineering, software engineering, I know it's not all about computers, the vote counting and so on, but there are machines involved and lots of glitches. This is the great Jimmy Lott, a musician who used to be my neighbor, and he's still in Portland, and this was his appearance at the Alano Club. Portland is a great music city, and the Alano Club is special. I suggest a whole, I think I've referred to it before, but a whole nother episode on that maybe. Look up the the movie about the life of Callahan, our cartoonist. I talk about cartoonists a lot on this channel, like Homer Davenport. We've talked about what I want to. He was a native of Silverton, Oregon, which is south of Portland, and worked during the Hearst Empire. For the Hearst Empire papers. Now, he didn't always work for Hearst papers, is my understanding. He jumped on and off of Hearst's payroll. But he became wealthy enough in his own right to import horses from Syria, and including one of the grandfathers or mothers of Mr. Ed, the TV horse. Now, this is Mom getting her flowers. I mentioned in an earlier video that I would be including these pictures. She didn't really know they were coming, and I wasn't so sure either after about a week, but it was just, takes time. And these are really all of WILPF is congratulating itself, Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, because of the UN nuclear ban treaty reaching 50 signatures in the General Assembly. That's a big victory for us. It's something I'm a member to that we track and celebrate. And we understand that the ambient culture is not into abolitionism. This is not a new situation. We're kind of like subversive as seen by people around us because we're abolitionists. In this case, we're against the enslavement of humanity by those who threaten to use weapons of mass destruction upon us, right? We're against that, right? Anyway, in my Facebook, I talk about that more too. I use this for a lot of things. The new 007 here. I've been watching more of the British stuff, like Spitting Image. I was showing that to Patrick, who was over the other day. We sat socially distanced. Quinn is his dog. You've probably met his dog in my videos, the one with the two colors of eyes and so forth. So let's see, what else did I have? Defunct land. I want to talk about. I've been studying the difference between like streamlined modern and Art Nouveau and Art Deco and all that. So defunct land. This is a pretty new one. Now Kevin Perjurer has done other stuff on Epcot. Like I've learned a lot about Epcot from him already. But for those who do more than just hear me talk about trailheads and actually follow them, for example, do you remember Kevin did one on the New York World's Fair and in 64, 65, in which Disney was very active, right? He was very much involved in that. And Robert Moses, right? So that all that research is recapitulated a little bit in this episode's, and to good end, because you remember if you watch that video now, because I didn't really talk about it in detail. There was a lot of protests, slowdown, worker skepticism, you could say, about this quote unquote utopia or futuristic world that the New York's World's Fair was designed to project. Right? It's like at the same time that corporate America is building these monuments to itself, it's making it rather difficult for any kind of equality or the ideals of the Constitution and so on be lived up to, right? It's not definitely going in that direction. In fact, there's a lot of sort of fascist resonance and racism in all of it, right? So this movie doesn't just turn its back on all those issues. That's core to understanding the tensions in America, right? It's like promise, it's dream, and then the nightmare that it doesn't deign to address. In other words, the realities it fails to address, right? So you don't think, Disney. I think here's my read on this. Kevin's always asking what drives Disney. It's his legacy. He wants to be seen as more than just a theme park guy and cartoonist. And I think that's true. That's absolutely true. But there's also just a pressure. If you've been in the propaganda business, which Disney was during World War II, if you support the idea of an American dream, then there's got to be a path forward. There's got to be a bright future. In other words, built into the promise of America is that it's somehow moving towards a better world of the future. And so it's not just his personal heritage that he's feeling compelled to sort of flesh out and substantiate, but really the whole premise of his culture and his time. And that's why he got so much cooperation, right? And that's why it's important to look at what does happen in World's Fairs, as far as how the workers are treated, what kind of pricing is occurring in terms of building. In other words, the workflows that lead to it. And that's why I think Old Man River City does not equal Epcot in the sense of the social engineering is different. And I'm going to take social engineering on as a positive instead of fighting it, or a neutral, let's say. There's good and bad social engineering. And I think what this Epcot movie is showing is what bad social engineering can lead to, which often means too control freaky, too heavy handed, not cybernetic enough, not leaving it to the people of then as opposed to what you think, right? This is what was the genius of the Constitution, is that it's a cybernetic expectation of how things will balance each other, and no one human being's brilliant thoughts come to dominate, right? It's not designed to promote autocracy or dictatorship. And yet there's a yearning in humans for a tyrant, to be bossed around, to be told, and more than that, to see others be told and see that they must obey. This yearning, it's like, well, I never yearned to be told. Yeah, but haven't you want to watch other people be told and have to do it, right? You like seeing force applied to others, if not to yourself, maybe. Maybe not. I'm just saying there's a lot of psychology behind government, and my channel tends to. I'm more of a Jungian type who sees the murky depths of the unconscious before I see, ratiocination, right? Now, speaking of that, my final topic, speaking of ratiocination and rationality in general, right? We don't expect in the literature world that all writers have the same form of thinking or arguing or talking or spinning their wheels, turning their gears. And there's another synergetics out there. This one is already quite well known in certain Russian printing, certain academics, what do I want to say? Academic circles, think tanks in Russia already have a lot of fluency built up over synergetics. But if you know the story, you know that there's more of a Springer Verlag synergetics, which is a different kind of blend of lineages. It's a different flavor of rationality, different metals, you could say. It's got its own tension, it's got its own compression. Whereas the synergetics of Fuller, it's a different fluency, it's American transcendentalist, it's really not the same sort of Euro stuff. So they link together though. In other words, as I've said, through Peter's work in German with English translations, and that's what I'm showing in this final slide. I'm taking the sort of Russian Springer-Verlag synergetics, crisscrossing it with the foams, and saying, hey, you can bring the Bucky stuff in here to talk about all this as well. We agree that foamization is occurring and that some of these bubbles are manifesting like more of a hexapent design than others, right? Depends on your level of fluency with certain kinds of geometric concepts, what we talk about here a lot. All right, that was pretty out there, but remember, in terms of banning nuclear weapons, what we're doing is fighting this guy, right? This kind of the obsolete prehistoric kind of dino rationality that bedevils the planet. So that's why we're glad in WILPF that we've made some strides in that direction. Good job. Talk to you later.